David C. Jones with Before the Curtain Goes Up, and the curtain's going up at a big old musical, a musical that's from 1992, but it's actually from the 1930s. And I'm here with the stars, Todd Talbot and Rabecca Talbot. Hello. Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
So good.
Now, Todd, you have not, well, either of you, you're both such great performers, but you haven't been on stage. This isn't just pandemic not on stage. Neither of you have been on stage for a long time. You could say it was the pandemic, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, we were going to do this show before the pandemic. So, yeah, so we're delayed by about 3 years. But yeah, I definitely took a hiatus, if you will, a segue into the television world for a number of years. And, you know, we had kids and just life kind of happened. Rebecca's probably been on stage more recently than I have.
I think Charlie Brown at Carousel. I think that was my last outing.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's been a while.
And
it's kind of like riding a bike, and it's kind of not like riding a bike.
It's like riding a horse, but you didn't realize the horse was a wild stallion.
That's right.
Well, I realized that since the pandemic, I have aged 10 years since I got on that horse. So
nice. Now,
not true.
Now, Crazy for You, it's based on old musical, a Gershwin musical, which was kind of a jukebox musical. It was just a bunch of Gershwin songs, and they went, here's a little thread to hold.
Are you talking about Girl Crazy?
Girl Crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they I guess Girl Crazy sounded a little bit too like all-encompassing. So they said Crazy for You to make it more specific. And it was Ken Ludwig who adapted it. So what's the plot? What and how? Well, I guess we don't know Girl Crazy, so it's not like how is it different?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the best way to describe Crazy for You is like a grand musical theater romantic comedy. There's a lot of things mixed into this, and some people won't necessarily know the show Crazy for You, which was an absolute massive hit on Broadway, as you mentioned, back in the 90s. And I saw it in the 90s and was blown away by it.
Like that was in England, right?
I saw it in the West End, and it has stuck with me ever since. It was kind of one of those bucket list shows that you're like, oh, if I ever get a chance to do this show, I would jump at it.
There's a possibility that the reason this show is happening is because Todd mentioned it to the director at some point in time. Possibly.
Maybe. We've been trying to do this show for a number of years, but so it, as you mentioned, Ken Ludwig, who's kind of famous for his writing of farces. I've done another one of his shows, Lend Me a Tenor. And so it has a farcical element to it, which is, you know,
a lot of gags.
Bobby in disguise as Zangler, lots of gags, lots of things written into the show that are hilarious. But at the same time, there is another layer, which is this romantic getting together of these two people right here,
and a very appropriate plot line of a theater needing to be saved.
What?
So while people might not know the show Crazy for You necessarily, they'll know the music for sure. So you come and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I know that song, and as you mentioned, like Girl Crazy kind of wove those songs together in a more kind of review style. This kind of flushed it out, put much more of a story around it, and yet still used Gershwin tunes to kind of tie them together, and some of them loosely and some of them
work better than others for us as the people trying to make them make sense in the story.
And sometimes you just go, you know what? It's a great song.
Just sing it.
Everyone wants to hear this song.
I'd like to know which song in the show is the one that if people look at the list, everyone knows that one. Is it Someone to Watch Over Me, do you think? That's a super popular song.
I Got Rhythm is
I think probably famous. I Got Rhythm more
you
because
think so?
yeah, because I think if people hear that song, they do it when they're like walking downstairs and shit, right? They're like,
Well, you do. That's for sure.
actually, that's how I broke my arm, actually. But I won't go into that story. So no, Rebecca, no, I'm assuming in Girl Crazy, the characters were, the female characters were a little bit vacuous, a little bit. Did Ken Ludwig go, okay, I'm going to give them some more agency in this?
I think so. I think there's definitely a nod to all of that, especially with the ensemble girls who do your dream sequence kind of stuff. They're all in pink and they've got blonde wigs and there's still a lot of that going on in a couple of the characters. But he wrote Polly as coming in as a cowboy. So she gets to have this very self-possessed, strong assuredness in herself in this world where she lives with a city full of men. So it's just her and all men, and she is the strong. She is the North Pole of the town.
She's the boss lady for sure.
Yeah, she's in a city of men. Where is this place?
Well. It's called Dead Rock, Nevada.
Yeah. It's in the theater. That's where this city lives.
Okay, sorry.
And we take place. There's actually it's a bit Americana, but the show takes place in New York and Dead Rock, Nevada, which is kind of a precursor to Las Vegas. So there's a few kind of jokes in there about, who would ever come to gamble or see a show in Nevada. And,
right.
So
nice.
It's funny. It's a funny show.
You have to know your history of gambling states, like.
Nah, not really. Very, very thin. Very thin.
I think everybody knows Vegas, Nevada. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a little bit for the people who are very smart, and the other people will have a great fun time anyway.
Yeah.
Nice. So what's it like? Because if this is a big musical, then I'm assuming there's. Are you tapping? Is there a tap number?
Is he tapping? He taps for the whole thing. He never takes the tap shoes off. He's singing ballads and tapping his feet.
His performance is in Morse code.
He doesn't say any lines. He just uses his feet.
We might rework some things now that you mentioned that. That's great. It's a good idea. It is a bit of a marathon. The idea, I don't know if you felt this, but I think sometimes, as actors, we look at roles and we get inspired by it and we think, oh, I'd love to do that. And then you get into it and you think, I didn't really 100% comprehend the scope of it or what it entails or the energy level that it takes to put. And so you kind of go through the show and you're like, wow, I don't know how the guy before me did it. Like it's crazy. It is
for you.
For you.
He was probably about 20 years younger than you.
Easy, Tiger.
Woo!
I'm only 28.
That was a baby.
But yeah, no, there is number after number. It is seriously relentless in terms of like, once we get started, there's no slowing down. There's scenes in between, but it is big number after big number. And Val has choreographed. One of the cool things about working at Royal City is that you do have a full chorus of people. So we have all of the guys that are needed for this show and all of the women who are needed for this show, so that it's full. And last night we were on stage for the first time, so we were spacing things, and it was like.
And she was also staging the bows. And you think bows are people come out and bow. They're still tapping.
It's still tapping, still singing. It's like a full on
names.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
One of the things that's cool about, because the Arts Club's the only big kid in town now. Well, Tuts, but they're mixed like this company, Royal City. So yeah, because you not only will have a big ensemble, which the Arts Club can't afford to do a big ensemble, right? They can, this is as big as we can get. And also you probably have an orchestra.
Sure do.
We do.
Yeah,
And that is.
It's pretty spectacular. I actually rolled my ankle in rehearsal 2 nights ago with Todd. We do a few little lifty types of things, and I landed wrong and went over on my ankle. So I've sprained my ankle. So I'm sitting out at the moment, hoping that I will be ready for opening, and not getting to rehearse is very hard at this point because I'm like, I need to remember what I'm doing. We have new stuff that we're doing, and I've never gotten to run it. But I got to sit and watch when we were trying it out with the orchestra for the first time, really. And it's the first time, I think, because I was sitting and watching, but also with the orchestra playing, that I was like, oh my gosh, it's like I was getting excited. It's so different having all of those pieces come together. And we still have more, because last night was on stage, and then we have costumes, and the costumes in this show are going to just add another level, and it's going to be spectacular. It's Donnie Tejani doing the costumes, and he's absolutely brilliant. He is so good at it. He's so lovely to work with. And it's just amazing to see all of these pieces coming together. And once it's all there, I think there's going to be some super magic moments. If anyone has not been to the theater before, I think it'll be
a good introduction.
Amazing. But I think for people who have been and seen a lot of shows, even in Vancouver, if you haven't been other places and stuff like that, I think it's going to be show-stopping.
It's an 18-piece orchestra.
Wow.
So like just having that support and that kind of fullness and richness.
Yeah, like all the energy, like when you're up there on stage and you feel those 18 people in the pit in front of you, and they're all supporting you, like that must just feed you so much, like an audience feeds you. I mean, a synthesizer playing those sounds in, in a show, you go, well, yes, it sounds close, but it's not what's having the energy of all those.
Yeah, it's a definite energy. The horns, oh my gosh, once they kick in, you can't duplicate that sound without having the real.
It's what's cool about musical theater is I remember doing a show with Morris Panich, and he was like very adamant saying that musical theater kind of gets a bad reputation in a way. It doesn't, on the hierarchy of artistic endeavors, it kind of slots in maybe a little bit lower down the list. But really that's it's a crazy way to think about it, because you have to bring all of these elements together. If you're doing a play, while difficult, you're really bringing a couple of elements together. Here, not only do you need to be able to sing and dance and act, but now you have to have an orchestra come into that mix as well. And so there's so many things to kind of juggle and get right all at the same time. And it's awesome.
I used to joke back when I did like amateur musicals that you're working with the musical director who's teaching you the songs, you're doing it, and then you meet the choreography and you realize the choreographer, and you realize I can't sing the song and do those moves at the same time. And then the orchestra comes in and they're playing it at a whole different tempo because they've been working. It's a completely different song.
We all have to get in the same show somehow.
Yeah, you're holding on for dear life, and somehow through blood, sweat, and tears, it all comes together. But I do want to mention that, for people who maybe don't come out to the theater very often, this show is super appropriate for the whole family. So one of the cool things about it is that, like, our kids who are 11 and 13 think it's hilarious and they love the content, but obviously right up to, you could be 113 and you would remember when Gershwin was writing it. So, they were top of the charts. But yeah, so like it's a great show for the whole family to come out to, and not every show is like that.
Nice. And I would also I would hazard a guess that in the 1930 version, there was probably some casual classism and racism and sexism that might have been there, just casual, you know, the insidious kind. And then in the 92 adaptation, they went, let's just take some of that out. Let's take out some of that problematic language.
Well, we even still have some of that now, where there's moments where, you know, there's been a big movement in the Me Too movement and stuff like that. And there's stuff that's staged right into the play that you're like, okay, how do we deal with this and be appropriate at the same time? So yeah, we have to deal with all that.
I digress for a moment. That was a thing studio when they did Rocky Horror, of course. Frankfurter basically goes into the bedrooms without consent, and there was a big issue of like, do we do this show? And it's like, well, you consented as a period piece, like you can't pretend that's what happened. Well, okay,
I know that's what everyone's facing these days with putting on old shows. It's what's in there.
This one I think holds up,
it's pretty good,
remarkably well. And part of that is because of the strength of Polly. You know, it's not Bobby who kind of drives the agenda of the show.
Nice.
It's kind of his journey through it, but Polly is so strong. And then the dynamic really, you know, Hungarians will enjoy it. We do some bad Hungarian accents. So I mean that. I don't know.
Just left.
I don't know if David fell off his chair. Yeah. I don't know how sensitive Hungarian people are, but I hear they've got great senses of humor. So
okay. Okay. Now you sort of already did it, Todd. So I'm going to let Rabecca go first. What we'll do just to wrap up is you both have to sell the show. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the little green dot on your computer, and you're going to reach right through your laptop to the viewer of this, and I'll let you go first, Rabecca. You're going to sell the show. Like, why should someone buy it? Todd's already sort of laid the groundwork for this.
Yes.
but now you
talking about family show.
Yeah. So, wait, I'm going to count you in. 3, 2, 1, go.
I would like to invite people to come and see what Todd is doing on stage for these performances, because watching him, even for me, as someone who has been with him for 20 years and fell in love with him in rehearsal, and now getting to watch him in rehearsal again, I get very excited. I absolutely love seeing Todd dance, and to add in everything else that he's doing on top of it, because it's not just heavy on the dancing. He's also doesn't stop talking, doesn't stop joking. It's like, it's very exciting, and singing.
And then we go to the theater.
I was gonna say, it's just like at home.
I'm excited for people to see what Todd can do, especially people who only know him from TV. I think people will be amazed.
Wonderful. And Todd, do you want to try now? You're gonna
no pressure.
You say the same thing I said, but you say, come see me.
It made me...
Or yours could just be ditto.
Yeah.
Okay, look at the camera. 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, I think to sit in that theater, it's an old building in New Westminster, and just walking in there and getting the vibe of that. We talked about the orchestra, hearing that orchestra play right off the top, I think just transports people into another place. And I think that to sit in a big room with people and laugh is the medicine that we really all need right now. So if you want a great time, come and laugh, sit back and enjoy it. Just have a great night out or afternoon. You got to come see Crazy for You.
Okay, I love it. I'm so excited. You know why I'm excited, Todd? Is because you said you saw a production of it and you loved it so much that it stuck in your head, and that you kind of, Rabecca seemed to insinuate that you kind of were threading the needle a little bit, trying to find someone to produce it for you. So the fact that you adore this show so much means I will adore this show so much.
There you go.
So will you, the people watching this. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know you just bundled the kids off to school. So I'll let you relax a little bit before you head back to rehearsal. See you guys.
See you, David.
It's so wonderful to see you again.